See, yesterday you have seen filters API, filters library, and diagram I given static dispatching, dynamic dispatching diagram. So this is static dispatching. This is static dispatching. I given dynamic dispatching example also. That program we'll see now. Okay, the diagram I didn't save that one. Okay, this is the diagram I given yesterday. See, file, new, dynamic web project. Here, suppose filters or filter package name I'm giving filter. Next, next, generate XML, finish. Here, right click, new HTML file. Something login.html file. Next, finish. Here, background color, text color, total content is centered. Level 1 heading, underline text, login form. Form tag. Now here, login form, username, password. Is it confidential or not confidential? Confidential. Then what we have tried here? Method equal to post. Action equal to yesterday given diagram. You see the diagram. When I click on submit button, first control pass it to welcome solid or login filter. Welcome solid. So welcome solid URL pattern we have tried. Okay. Form action, form method equal to post and action equal to welcome. So control pass it to welcome solid. Here username input type equal to text, name equal to something uname, line break, password, input type equal to password, password box created. Name equal to something p word. Okay, line break. Input type equal to submit button. Input type equal to reset button. Now here, when you click on submit button, control password to welcome solid. Control myself I diverted to login filter, but that is I'll write in XML file, not here. Okay, so when you click on submit button, control password to welcome solid. That welcome solid URL pattern I written here. Method equal to post, because password is there. That's the reason post. It's confidential. That's what HTTP method we have to use post. Okay. See, this program you already studied. There in like this type of program already you studied. So write this one. It is HTML program. Note down this program. Is it over? So your username, password. Password is confidential data. That is the reason HTTP method we used post. And when you click on submit button, welcome solid is going to be executed. That is the reason welcome URL pattern. Now, what is username and password here? These two, username and password, labels. What is uname and p word? Request parameter, names. Whatever you are going to type in this box, that is value. So uname and p word, request parameter, names. Whatever you are going to type in a text box, password box, that is value. And the username, password, these are labels. And it is a URL pattern of Solid. Just right here, it is a URL pattern of welcome Solid. URL pattern of welcome Solid. URL pattern of welcome Solid. This uname and p word request parameter names. Request parameter names. So URL pattern of welcome Solid request parameter names. So whenever you click on submit button, action equal to welcome, this Solid is going to be executed. But whenever control comes to welcome Solid, I'll divert the control to login filter. That is, I'll write in XML file. Is it over? See. Next, welcome Solid, I'll write new Solid. Package name, suppose filter. Class name, suppose welcome Solid. Next, here URL pattern already we decided. Welcome. Welcome. Okay. Next button. Say which type of request coming? Post type request. So do post required. Finish. Here retrieving username, only username. What we have tried? String sc equal to request dot get parameter. Parameter name is what I given? Uname. Okay. This username I want to print. This username I want to print. Print writer. Print writer pw equal to response dot get writer. Pw dot println. Welcome that username plus yes. Okay. If you want, you can add HTML code. Pw dot println HTML body bg color. Suppose cyan, text color blue, red, level 1 heading. Level 1 heading close, body close, HTML close. This is welcome Solid. Control Shift O. Now up to here, if I execute, what will happen? See, right click, run on server, save. Next, finish. Now here filter. Here what I'll do, see, login.html. Login.html. This is login form. Here I'll type some username. I'll type some password. When I click on submit button, welcome that username printed. Here I didn't write any condition and these all nothing. I didn't write anything. What I did, only welcome username I returned. Now you enter any username, any password, always welcome like. Welcome that username. So here validation I didn't write. Validations I didn't write. See, any username, any password, it is welcome. So now without validation it is printing welcome. Now I want to add filter. You can add dynamically. If you want to remove filter, you can remove dynamically. So filter can be plugged, filter can be plug out, plug in, plug out possible. Anytime you can add, anytime you can remove. These two nothing, these two already studied, these two already studied. Okay, now actual concept is filter. First of all, this program also write it. HTML and welcome solid, these all, this type already you studied many times. Now welcome solid.java. Write this one. This program is nothing. Okay, actual program now we are tried. Actual concept is filter. Is it over? See here, just request parameter retrieved, the value printed. Now, in between, I want to add filter. In between, I want to add filter. How to add? We'll see now. This program is nothing. You already studied this type program. Actual concept is filter and XML file. Is it over? See. This is a program. Say once again, right click, run as, run on server, localhost, Tomcat, next, finish. Here, login.html. Okay. Now I'll type some username, ABC, any password, submit button. So you are getting welcome ABC. Now any username, any password, there is no validation. Always it shows welcome username. Okay. In between, I want to add filter. Say what you studied is like this. It is login.html. Here login form. Okay, login form. Here username, password. Submit button, reset button. Whenever you click on submit button, welcome solid. See, if we click on submit button, then welcome solid. It is welcome solid. Here, just it will retrieve username, it will print. Welcome that username. That's it. Here you will type username, you will type password, you will click on submit button. This username printed. Now that is request, that is response. Here we are sending request parameters, username, password. There you are getting response, welcome username. Okay. Here request parameters are username, password. Response is welcome username. Between request and response, dynamically you can add filter. How to add? One filter I'll write. So one filter, that filter name is login filter. Login filter.java. I'll write. Here I'll receive username, I'll receive password. After receiving, I'll check in a database. I'll check in a database. Given username, password exists or not. I'll check. Here, database. Here, if exist, here I'll write some code. Else, invalid username, password. Here, it is just a separate one solid, separate one filter I'll write. Separate one filter I'll write. Receiving username, password, checking in database. If exist, here some code I'll write. This code is common to all solids, all filters. Else, invalid username, password. It is I'll write. After writing in XML file, in a web.xml file, I'll configure. What I'll configure, whenever request comes to welcome solid, divert the control to login filter. Like that, I'll write. divert the control to login filter. I'll write. Whenever request comes to welcome solid, control diverted to login filter. So you will click on submit button. Then request comes to welcome solid. But this is I configured here. This is I configured here. So whenever request comes to welcome solid, divert the control to login filter. So like this, control diverted. Control diverted to filter. Now filter executed. After executing, here nothing I'll write. Here one filter chain concept is there. I'll explain. With that filter chain, again do filter method. I'll call that it. If you call like that, what will happen? What that will do is it will check in the XML file. If any other filter configured, other filter executed, if there is no other filter, control comes back from wherever it is came. There it comes back. So like this, again, it comes like this. Now, these two lines are called dynamic dispatching. Now, if you don't want this filter, if you want to remove this filter, just you need to remove this concept. If you want to add, write these two lines. So anytime filter can be removed, anytime filter can be added. Now in between, this is plugged in. If you don't want, you can plug out. So plug in, plug out. So filter is an object that mechanism, that only mechanism provides. We can plug in code, we can plug out code. By filter only it is possible. If it is solid, not possible. Because in the solid, compulsory URL pattern you have to write. But here we are not writing anything. One method is there, library method, that is we have to call. If you call like that, what it will do is it will check an XML file. If any other filter configured, other filter executed, other filter is not configured, controls will send back to solid. So this link is dynamic link. This link is dynamic link. If you don't want this one, just remove XML here. If you want, add XML. That's it. Anytime you can add, anytime you can remove. Now you observe this solid HTML already completed. Okay. Now actual concept is filter. How to write? See, right click, new, filter. Here you have to select filter. After selecting, package name also filter. Now class name, login filter. Yesterday given filter in a filter program. Can we write main method? No, filters do not have main method because filter runs in server. Server doesn't know main method. But like execution purpose, what is there? Execution purpose, what is there? Life cycle methods. How many life cycle methods? 3. What are those? Init, do filter, destroy. Init, do filter, destroy. Okay. Those methods belongs to which interface? Filter interface only. Jakarta.solid.filter interface. Filter interface. But filter interface inherited in generics filter class. Generic filter class inherited in HTTP filter. So here already super class by default it is came HTTP filter. That is only can continue because HTTP filter only we use. HTTP filter is subclass of generic filter. HTTP filter if you use HTTP solid request response you can access. That's what we'll prefer this one only. Now next here what is there? You observe URL pattern. Login filter is there. Here you need to write welcome solid URL pattern. Why? I'll explain. Welcome. What is the meaning of this line? I'll explain. Just welcome. You have to write. Okay. After that, you have to click on OK. Now next. Here next. Finish. Now you observe. Here you observe destroy method, do filter method, init method. It is not compulsory. If you want, you can remove. Only do filter is compulsory. Do filter also not compulsory. No method mandatory. All are concrete methods only. No method mandatory. According to your requirement, you can utilize. Okay. Now, do filter HTTP. Okay, this is came 1 minute. Here HTTP solid request required for us. Okay, here HTTP solid request, HTTP solid response, and one more filter chain. Now, these all Control Shift O. Jakarta.solid.filter. This is we have to click. Now, you observe init method, filter config. These all do filter HTTP solid request, HTTP solid response, and filter chain. These all methods. Now, first of all, here we have to receive request parameters. Just now you see in diagram. This is now we have to receive request parameters, username, password. For receiving request parameters, which method we use? Get parameter. By using this request, can I call? Yes. You observe in this program, you observe it automatically came chain.doFilter request and response. This code, only one line code automatically came. You observe this code automatically came. This is only last line we have tried here. This is if the username password exists, that line required. That line will check in XML file any other filter configured, executed. Not configured, control comes back to solid. That will explain. Now, first of all, see. Here I'll write the code. Here, what I'm going to write, see. First, receiving according to diagram. Receiving username, password. What we have to write? String S1 equal to request dot get parameter. Parameter name is uname. After this, string S2 equal to request dot get parameter. Parameter name pword. Now received. Received. Username, password received. After receiving username and password, whether it is exists or not, we have to check. How to check in a database? First, connection establishment required. Connection establishment, where we have tried init method or do filter method or destroy method. Init method. It is init method. It is do filter method. It is destroy method. It is constructor. Okay. Now, init method we have tried here. Now, what we have tried? Class dot for name. Here, oracle.jdbc.driver.oracle driver. Okay. Next, connection con equal to driver manager dot get connection. Username, first URL jdbc colon oracle colon thin colon at localhost colon 1521 colon xe. Next, system. Next, manager. Okay. Now, connection established. This connection reference can I use in the do filter method and destroy method? No. Why? It is local variable. Then which variable you have to write? Instance variable. Can I write here? Connection con. Now can I access? Yes. Now that is instance variable. Instance variable, how many ways to access? What are those? Is it valid here? How it is valid? Implicitly this keyword valid. Okay. Now this connection you can use here. You can use here. Okay. Now you have to check in database. But database table should be there. So already created tables are there. That table only will apply. See, already we created some tables. That table only I'll apply. select star from uinfo. One table is there. This table 11 rows are there. This table only I'll use. Okay. Already we created for forwarding, redirecting, including at the time we created. This is I'll use. Okay. Now this username password, whether it is exist or not, we have to check. For checking, select a query required. Select query. That is static query required or dynamic query required? Dynamic query. For dynamic queries, statement or prepared statement or callable statement? Prepared statement required. What we have tried? Prepared statement PSTMT equal to connection dot prepare statement. Okay, prepare statement. Here dynamic query we have to write. What is the query we have to write? Select star from uinfo. Next, where uname equal to question mark and keyword equal to question mark. This is dynamic query. Select a star from uinfo where uname equal to question mark and keyword equal to question mark. Suppose uname I entered AAA and AAA. Suppose, then how many records returned here? One record returned. Suppose given username password does not exist, then how many records? No records. Now if result set is empty, if result set first result set pointer, now suppose username password exists, then one record returns with first name, last name, username, password. This is like a result set. Okay. Cursor, where is a cursor? Before first record. Suppose given username password exists, then one record returned here. One record return. If I call next method, it returns true or false? True. Suppose given record does not exist, if I call next method, false. So if it is true, this is we have to pass the control back. If it is, does not exist, invalid username password. So in a program you observe. Now prepared statement, it is one dynamic query prepared. These values you have to fill. How to fill? Give me answer. Prepared statement dot set string. Set string first question mark S1. Next, prepared statement dot set string. Prepared statement dot set string. Second question mark S2. Okay. PSTMT dot set string, PSTM dot set string. Now, is it DDL query or DML query or DQL query? DQL query. For executing DQL query, which method you have to call? Execute. Execute query. What is the return type? Result set. Result set RS equal to PSTMT dot execute query. Okay. Execute query. Now, this result set, if it is next method, if I call, if it is true, this is we have to write inside the if. Say if rs dot next. If rs dot next. Now this is we have to write. Else we have to write invalid username password. Now for that, print writer. Print writer pw equal to response dot get writer. Pw dot println invalid username or password. Okay. For this HTML, this is HTML code. pw.println h1 close body close HTML close. Which one? Body close. Now invalid username password. Okay. Control Shift O. All imported, but you are getting errors. That is exceptions, unhandled exceptions. So you can select here Alt Shift Z. Try catch or multi catch or try with resource. Anyone you can select. Okay. So SQL exception, IO exception, solid exception. Now, say here what we did you observe. First, what we did you observe here connection established. Here also try catch record. Now, in a init method, here connection established. Inside the init method, connection established. Okay. After this, here username password retrieved. One dynamic query prepared. Values are settled. And if the given username password exists, true, then it will check XML file. If any other XML filter is configured, that filter executed. If not configured, solid executed. Else, invalid username password. Now, this is filter. Now, you observe. Now, you observe. Now, if you want to close the connection, where we are trying? Destroy. Connection dot close. This will throw exception. You have to handle Alt Shift Z. Now it's over. Now you observe. Right click, run as, run on server, save. Here, how many users are there? 11. For 11 users only, it will show welcome. Other users error. Login.html. Username AAA. Password AAA. When I click submit, login, welcome AAA. Okay. Back. Now password is wrong. Invalid username password. Now give me answer. Suppose username AAA, password AAA. When I click on submit button, how many programs executed? 2 programs. 2 programs executed. First, which program executed? Filter or solid? Filter. Next, solid. But control comes to which program first? Welcome solid. So control comes to welcome solid, but welcome solid not executed. So see, when you click on submit button here, see, I'm going to click on submit button. I'm going to click on submit button. When you click on submit button, control comes to welcome solid, but welcome solid program not executed. Control diverted to login filter. Control comes to welcome solid, but not executed. Control diverted to login filter. First login filter executed. Username password exists in a database. Then control again comes to back to welcome solid. Then output comes. Then filter executed, solid executed. If I click on submit button, filter executed, solid executed. Then welcome AAA. Suppose password is wrong. Password is wrong. Now how many programs executed? 1 program. Because here, when you click on submit button, control comes, but it is not executed. Diverted to filter. It exists control. This condition false. Invalid username password. With this program only output comes. But this is not executed. See, now this output is from filter, login filter. Okay. Suppose now what I want is I want to remove this filter. This lines, this links I want to break. Possible. Just you break here, that will break here. Okay. Now see how to break the link. Filter, src, main, web app, WebINF, web.xml. Here, what do you observe? Servlet configuration is there, filter configuration is there. Just filter configuration remove. Control X removed. Now you observe. Right click, new, sorry, run on server. Web.xml modified, save. Run. See, restart the server. Now you observe login.html. Now I'll type username, any other username, any password. If I click submit button, how many programs executed? One program. Which program? Welcome Solid. See, always welcome here. Now any user, any password. Now any username, any password. Any username, any password. See, always welcome it shows. So dynamically you can add filter, dynamically you can remove filter. Suppose again I want to add the filter. Control Z, add it. Now again execute. Right click, run on server, save. Finish, restart. Here, now login.html. Here, if I type username password, now invalid username password comes. Okay. Now these 11 users only allowed. Other than this 11, error comes. I have to explain filter configuration. I have to explain, as well as that filter, a filter chain method I have to explain. Before going to explanation, you write this one. I'll explain. First, you write the program login filter.java. Login filter.java. See, whatever I'm teaching in advanced Java, this one example, it's a more than enough. Instead of practicing advanced Java, practice core Java, it will be useful. Okay. One example, more than enough. Advanced Java. Core Java only most important. One minute. First, I'll write in it better. That can be anywhere. No need to. No, it can be. It will work same. Write this one. Nodal. Over. Init method connection establishment. In a do filter method task. Destroy method connection close. Is it over? See, in the program, you observe in the diagram, when you click on submit button, request comes to welcome solid. Already in XML file, we configured whenever request comes to welcome solid, login filter executed. This is also how to explain how it will come here. Okay. When you click on submit button, control comes to here. The control diverted to here. Now in this program, except this line, remaining all you know, except that line. Okay. You observe in a filter program, except that line, remaining all you know. It is package here all imported. After that, connection interface reference created outside the methods, nothing but instance variable. Here destroy method, just connection closed. Do filter method, say username password retrieved. It will check in a database if exists this line, else invalid username password. Here connection establishment in init method. So only this line is new. What this line will do is, so only this line is new here, right here. Say filter chain. In a filter chain, here three parameters: HTTP servlet request, HTTP servlet response, filter chain. With this filter chain reference, do filter called. With filter chain, again do filter. This do filter is different. This do filter is different. This do filter, how many parameters? Here do filter, how many parameters? Two parameters. So in a filter chain also one do filter is there. HTTP filter also one do filter is there. See at the command prompt. At the command prompt, you observe Java P Jakarta dot Servlet dot HTTP dot HTTP filter. If I enter here, protected do filter. See HTTP servlet request, HTTP servlet response, filter chain. Three parameters. Okay. But in a filter chain, Jakarta dot Servlet dot HTTP dot filter chain. Here one method is there. Here filter chain. See here do filter. But what it takes, see servlet request, servlet response. This method different, that method different. Okay. Method name same, parameters different. Now what this line will do is it indicates web container. Write this one. It indicates web container to execute any filter, to execute filter or servlet. Whichever is configured. In web.xml. So it indicates web container to execute filter or servlet, whichever is configured in web.xml. It indicates web container to execute filter or servlet, whichever is configured in web.xml. So whichever is configured, that is executed. So this just you need to write only this method. In a filter, always you have to write this method only. Like a servlet type, you should not write URL pattern here. What this will do is always it will check web.xml to execute either filter or servlet, whichever is configured. So this line, it checks in XML file. Whatever is configured, that is executed. If not configured, directly control comes back. The type, nothing but servlet. Now, if any other filter, suppose in between, now here control came here. In between here, one more filter you want to write. You want to include here. You want to include. You can include. That is, you can configure here. After this filter executed, later this is executed. So like that's possible. But how to configure, that is I'll explain. For that, XML file required. XML file. Annotation also possible. With annotation also I'll explain. Now XML file. This XML file also note down better. Web.xml. Now complete, no need to write. Whatever is not required, unnecessary things I'll remove. Web.xml. Write this one. I'll explain. Just write. One program, write it better. Like how it is configured, you should know. See, there also URL pattern welcome. Here also URL pattern welcome. Why? I'll explain. With that only it will understand. See, Year slash welcome, everyone knows. But here also I written slash welcome. Now, what is the meaning of this one is here. It indicates web container to execute login filter whenever request comes to welcome solid. So it indicates web container to execute login filter whenever request comes to welcome solid. So whenever request comes to welcome solid, this filter should execute. That is the reason that URL pattern you have tried here. Okay. It indicates web container to execute login filter whenever request comes to welcome solid. So whenever request comes to welcome solid, then login filter required. That's what welcome solid URL pattern you have tried here. Suppose yesterday one example I explained before dynamic dispatching, static dispatching, mail solid, chart solid, game solid, like that many services comes. For all one filter we can write. Now what you can do, this configuration many times you can do. This configuration. Suppose whenever request comes to mail solid, execute login filter, then mail solid URL pattern you have tried here. Whenever request comes to chart solid, then login filter should execute. Again, chart solid URL pattern right here. That means this is you have to configure many times, but same filter executed for mail solid also, chart solid also, welcome solid also, shopping solid also, any solid. So static dispatching, one example I given, that is this one. Now instead of writing two solids, one filter we can write. That filter only. Instead of writing two solid, one filter we can write, one filter. That filter you can configure for mail solid. That is, you can configure to chart solid. One filter only you can write, configure for mail solid, configure for chart solid. Whenever request comes to mail solid, login filter should execute. Whenever request comes to chart solid, login filter should execute. Like that, in XML file, 2 times configure, that's it. So this is only one more time you can write here. One more time, copy, paste. Here, mail solid URL pattern, mail. Now, see here, what is the meaning of this line is, whenever request comes to welcome solid, execute login filter. What is the meaning of this line is, whenever request comes to mail solid, execute login filter. That type. One more configure, n number of. If you don't want, remove. Anytime you can add, anytime you can remove. No effect on your programs. XML only modification. Okay. One more example in tomorrow class I'll show you. After that, JSP, Java Server Pages. Okay. So what more than enough. Okay. Instead of this, you practice core Java. It will be useful for your career. Tomorrow we'll see continuation.